Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. I wanted to take just a quick moment to thank you all who continually support and listen to James Miller Lifeology. I have been so blessed and honored by your continual support. I wanted to make sure that you don't miss out on anything exciting that's happening over here. So make sure you sign up for my free newsletter at jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to help you be a more balanced leader. I'll also be interviewing the former president of the UPS store, Romanella, who gives you tools and techniques to be a balanced leader when he reviews his book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, Principles for Balanced Leadership. For more information about Rocky, please visit 360managementservices.com. That's the number 3, the word 60, managementservices.com. You may also purchase Rocky's book on Amazon or at jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name, James Miller Lifeology. Balanced leadership. Think of the bosses you've had in the past. I'm sure there are many bosses you've had that were very good, and others that probably were not the best type of boss. When you think of these particular individuals who are considered your leaders, they're role models for you. And just like in Lifeology, everything we see and do is a lesson to be more like that person or be less like that person. When you look at the type of individuals that work really well with you, more than likely they're pretty balanced. When you think of a leader themselves, they have to play all roles. They have to be the one to be assertive. They have to be that compassionate person for that individual who's struggling. They sometimes have to dole out punishment or reprimand someone for not doing their job. They have to be very understanding and very compassionate. But when you think of those individuals who don't have some of those other nurturing qualities, historically, they don't work that well. They're not considered the most effective leader. Did you realize that you yourself are also a leader? Yes, you may not be in a management position, but you're a leader in your friend group. You're a leader in your community or even just in your household. Everything you do can change the environment and where you live. So when you look at your own life, is it balanced? Sometimes we are very efficient at work and we do our job really well. Or sometimes we're just really efficient in our friend group and we laugh and enjoy each other's company, but we struggle in our finances. Or we struggle in our diet and exercise. Or we struggle with our anger, our frustration. Looking at your life in a balanced way allows you to be the most effective you can be. When you think of a scale, if a scale is too heavy on one end, of course it's going to tip. It's the same type of thing in your life. If you are overbalanced in certain areas of your life, in other words, you work too much. We often know of those types of individuals as a workaholic, or you slack off too much, or you have too much downtime, or you go out too late at night and you struggle working the next day. That shows that you are unbalanced. It's really important for you to look at all areas of your life. How will people know that you're doing really well? What are the attributes you demonstrate that people can know automatically that you are really thriving? And what are some of the things you do where they would recognize that you're not thriving? So if you're struggling to determine if you are balanced in a lot of areas in your life, just simply ask your peer group or ask your family. What are some areas that they've seen you historically struggle? And when you can receive this constructive criticism, it helps you realize that your life could be more balanced, more efficient, more successful. So regardless if you're in an actual management position or just a leader in your own household or friend group, it's important for you to be as balanced as you can because that is a true mark of a balanced leader. A leader who can play all roles effectively, and that includes being vulnerable, will encourage that environment, will help that environment thrive and grow in a way that it never has before. So my challenge for you today, look at all areas of your life, become as balanced as you can be, because in doing that, you will become the most successful person you can be. Did you know I have a YouTube channel? That's actually how Lifeology started. I have well over 155 episodes that I've created specifically for you. I do know that many people struggle with listening to a full 30-minute show. So these episodes are about 3 minutes long. Each episode will give you a practical tool or technique that you can practice daily to help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Simply go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, or go to YouTube and search for my name, James Miller Lifeology. My guest today is Rocky Romanella, who is a founder, president, and CEO of 360 Management Services, a company dedicated to thought leadership, process improvement, and leadership development. Rocky was also the former president of the UPS store and has served many years in the roles as a vice president and president, which have helped him be an expert in leadership development. He is going to review his book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership. This book will give you tools and techniques to help you be the most effective and more balanced leader. Welcome to my show, Rocky.
Well, thank you, James, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. And I know there's many people out there that would consider this theirs, but I'm going to consider me being one of your greatest fans.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Now, some of my listeners may not know, but Rocky was a guest on my show previously. And so I'm so excited that he's come back to share his wisdom on leadership and how we all can be inspired by all of the experience that he has in his life.
Well, I appreciate being getting the invitation back, and I thoroughly enjoy listening to all of your shows. That was not only a great first show for me, James, but also a great opportunity for me to continue listening going forward. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And that's right, because I was one of the first people that interviewed, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. You
Well, you
were.
did a
You took a
fantastic job.
you took a chance on a little Italian guy from Jersey. So
Oh,
thank you very
goodness.
much.
Well, I think you sell yourself short just a little bit. But I can't wait to talk about your book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership. It's a phenomenal book. We touched a little bit on it before, but I really want to delve into the key components of this book. You have so many years of experience as the former UPS store president and many, many other things that you've done as well. So I think it's going to be a really good opportunity for you to share all your wisdom and how people can maximize and have and become a balanced leader.
Well, thank you, James, and I look forward to discussing it. It was a labor of love putting it together.
Well, give us just a couple sentence of your backstory because they can my listeners can definitely go back and listen to that previous show. In fact, I'll link them together. Just give us just a couple seconds backstory of you and how you started from the ground up and became the former president of the UPS store.
Well, thank you. Just quickly, started working for UPS as a part-timer in 1976, June 15th to be exact. And the story goes, my dad, rest his soul, said one of my sons is going to college. He looked at me and said, "You're the oldest, it's you." But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of money. So UPS provided me that opportunity with a part-time job, and I worked my way through school at St. John's University. I was at the Staten Island campus, which was a commuter college, so I was able to go to school during the day and work at UPS at night. The second, I think, thing that's significant is UPS had a promotion from within policy, and so I was the recipient of that policy and worked my way up. And my dad told me two things that you and I talked about in the first conversation, and that's when I went. I was going for the interview, and he said to me two things. He said, number one, whatever they ask you to do, say yes and thank you, and then learn your job and then learn some more. So as I was growing and moving my way through the organization, even when I felt I wasn't ready or was nervous about a new opportunity, I always thought about what my dad said.
Hmm.
Whatever they say, whatever they ask you to do, say yes and thank you. And so I said, okay, let's do this. And UPS also taught me something that I believe is an important principle that I use going forward. I think all leaders should think about, regardless of the role they play as a leader. And that's that there are going to be times when you have to believe in your people when they're not ready to believe in themselves. So you
Mm.
believe in your people until they're ready to believe in themselves. And so there were times when UPS believed in Rocky Romanello well before Rocky Romanello believed in himself. And so you bridge that confidence gap, and then that person begins to have successes, feel good about themselves, and then from that point forward can start to drive the success through their confidence. But those early days are difficult, right? Because you've never done
Sure.
them before. You're not
Hmm.
sure you can do them. And so leaders believe in their people until they're ready to believe in themselves. And so that career spanned 36 years, got many opportunities inside the UPS, some unique opportunities, and took advantage of them. And like I said before, it was all based on my dad whispering in my ear. Retired from UPS, took on a role as a CEO of a telecom company, and we built cell towers, upgraded cell towers, those
Wow.
kinds of things. We had a sell there to private equity, and I retired again, I guess, and then started this company, 360 Management Services. Someone asked me the other day, when you think about the successes you've had, can you talk a little bit about some of the failures? And I keep telling people, yeah, I'm really failing at this retirement thing.
That is
I'm
funny.
not really sure I can do it. It's about the second or third time, so I'm not really sure how that works. I wasn't as prepared as I thought, James.
It's funny. I actually think about that for myself because if I still see clients years in the future, I'm like, well, it's just an hour. I can see them for an hour, but
Yeah, right.
that's not retirement. So it is definitely for someone in my age who's kind of thought about that. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think I'll probably struggle with that as well.
Well, I'll tell you a quick bad plan. A
Uh-huh.
bad plan is the first day you're retired, you get up and you look at your wife and you say, "So what are we doing today, hon?" And that look of, "I don't know what you're doing, but I know what I'm doing, and you're not part of it." I'm like, "Okay, I got this." That's not a good plan. I can tell you that right now. I'm sorry.
That is hysterical. That is funny. You know, when I was hearing you talk just now, one of the things I really appreciate about your leadership style, and I heard it before, but I really heard it just now as you were talking about really believing in your employees, is you come from your leadership style. It comes from a place of benevolence. It comes from a place of truly looking at that individual and seeing the potential in them, and you give them a platform on which they can thrive because it's not so structured or regimented in a way that causes them to come from a place of fear. In other words, a lot of times corporations or individuals will kind of lay the law of the land down, and that can be very overwhelming for people. So yes, you have expectations, but you also allow them and nurture them to grow in a way where they can truly thrive, which I think is a wonderful, powerful way to really express your leadership style.
Well, I appreciate you recognizing that. And I think it really starts with a couple things. One of which is that ability to realize that it's not about you, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not about me as the leader or whoever that leader is. It's about their people. And, I think sometimes people feel like, as a leader, I cannot show vulnerability. I think it's the opposite. People want to see that you're a regular person, that
Mm-hmm.
we're all good people trying to do the best job we can. As a CEO, for example, my role is different. It's not that I'm better than them or I'm smarter than they are. In fact, it could be the opposite. They could be much smarter than I am. But my role is to be the leader and to support them and
Yes.
to help our people see the vision of what we're trying to accomplish as a company and help them inside of that vision accomplish their goals, dreams, and aspirations. Well, there's going to be some vulnerability. That's when you sit and say, well, okay, what do you think we should do? Let's do this together. I don't always have to be the person
Mm-hmm.
who develops the idea or comes up with the next great thing to do.
Yeah.
And I would always say to people when they would, I would say to them, when you saw a manager or a leader who was just driving way too much and it was driving their people and it was driving the results, but frankly, they were driving their people crazy, right? Because they never felt like they could. So there's a lot of driving going on, but not in a
Wrong
good way.
direction.
Wrong direction. And I would say to them, a simple question would be, hey, do you ever notice that, doesn't it frustrate you that you sit there sometimes and say, why am I the person that's always thinking of the ideas? I need people to bring me ideas. Yeah. And they would say to you, yeah, you're right. It drives me crazy. And you say, well, take a second and think about it. Nobody's bringing you any ideas because every time they bring you an idea, you tell them, okay, great, but we're going to do it this way.
Mm,
Or, hey, thanks, but no thanks.
yeah.
You have to be open so that people want to bring you ideas. You got to be user friendly. You know what I mean? If you're not user friendly as a leader, no one's bringing you an idea.
That's a really good
So I,
point.
I think and so once kind of can show that vulnerability, that you had those moments, that you've had those fears, uh, then people are willing to open up and then the dialogue begins.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help you? What help do you need? I think these are things we need to work on. So I think it starts with you being vulnerable and showing people that you care and that you're willing to be vulnerable. And I think the second thing is, you know, people watch what you do, right? It's
Yeah.
everything you do speaks. And if in those difficult moments, do I give you the lifeline? Do I help you out? Or am I the pile on person? If I'm the pile on person, I've lost a great opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
show you that I care and that I appreciate the things you're doing and I'm here to help. I could say I'm here to help, James, but on the moment that you need help, I'm not there. I probably am not sincere about really wanting to help
Mm-hmm.
you.
It's
So
that authentic congruency that we talked about before in the previous episode.
people want to see you care.
Yes, yeah, they really do. They really do. What was it? Maya Angelou said, "People may not remember what you do, but they'll remember how you make them feel." And it's such a powerful, true statement because that's a reality of it. Every time you come into your office, if your staff are angry with you or resentful or have all these negative feelings, well, then they're not going to be productive at all, and you've created a rift between management and between the employees.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You were talking about choices, to be a very powerful, balanced leader. You talk about the choices that one must make. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I think when you're presented with a situation, and as a balanced leader, your choices are: do I consider those three key constituents in my decision-making process? Do I consider the customer, and do I look at it from their perspective? Would a customer
Hmm.
think this is a good idea? Would a customer think about it from your perspective? As you're sitting there with an individual and you're helping them through a difficult situation, it may be crystal clear to you what they need to do and what they need to work
Yes.
on, but from their perspective, it's clear as mud. And so you could continue to say to them, Can't you see this?" or "Why don't you look at it this way?" But I think what makes you so good is that you kind of move from behind the desk or move behind us from that situation and move to their side and say, okay, I can see where the disconnect can be, and you change your approach then. So
Hmm.
it's your ability to consider the customer and and how they may see things and what keeps them up awake at night is what's important, not what keeps you up awake at night. And then I think it's your people. What are the things that we're going to do and what role do they play? I mean, do I view my people in my organization as part of the problem or do I view them as part of the solution? And if I view them as part of the solution, then I need to make sure that they're educated, they understand what we're trying to accomplish, what role they play, what are the tools they need. And finally, do you look at it from the stakeholders or share owners or the people that have invested in your company? Do you look at it from that perspective as well? Can we make money and do we make, money because we do the right things? It's sustainable, it's not a one-time thing. And
Hmm.
so for me, this concept of being in balance and looking at things holistically, I mean, I think when I think about you and the things I think you do so well is that you look at a problem from a holistic perspective. It's not only maybe the mental situation you're looking at, but you're looking at the physical.
Hmm.
Are they eating healthy? Are they good people? Are they doing the right things? What roles do they play in society? Do they feel good about themselves? It's that holistic approach that you take. It's mind, body, spirit, soul. It's all those things that you take into consideration when you're making your decision that makes it a balanced decision. So in some way, many ways, you and I, maybe frame it differently, but we're both looking at balance, that you're looking
Yes.
at all the constituents. You're looking at all the things that make a good decision. And I think that's that holistic approach that I appreciate and respect so much on what you do from your side. And on the business side, I'm trying to do those same things by making sure that the customers, the people, and the stakeholders and shareholders are represented in the decisions. Now, as depending on the problem, one may take a lead, right? And maybe
Hmm.
if it's a
Sure.
physical problem or a mental problem or a different situation. Same with it may be if it's a revenue problem, the customer may take the lead, but our people still have to execute the plan and we still have to be profitable. And so the lead may change slightly, but all three are in balance and all three are in the context of the solution.
Well, that's amazing that you said that because as you were talking, I was thinking, well, that's very balanced. That's very holistic. What a great approach. And the fact that you likened it to my show as well, it's true. I think when people can look at it from a very holistic standpoint, that's where the value comes in. That's where the balance comes in, where it's not going to be top heavy or it's going to be bottom heavy and it's going to eventually fail. So it's such an amazing way that you really approach a situation. I love the fact that you can put yourself in other people's shoes. It comes from a place of empathy, comes from a place of just use your experience. Because as we know, from a business standpoint, the users are the one who drives the business, drives the profit, but you do it in a way that is authentic. And I guess it goes back to what we talked about before about you being an authentic leader in the previous episode. But I think it's such a wonderful, powerful way that you really get your message across, really get your business plan across, really allow for your business to grow, not only employees, but also the customers as well and help their experience, which is a win-win for everybody.
Well, thank you, thank you. And I think the approach works. And that's the part about the book that as I wrote the book, you kind of get yourself categorized if you're not careful. And for me, while I clearly understand it would be on the shelves as a business book, it's really a leadership book. And leadership for me is more than just a CEO or a president or a
Hmm.
manager. To me, leaders are people who influence others, that are mentoring people, that give people that vision to see more in themselves potentially and grow and develop. And so leaders are more than just a title. And so, for example, for me, the greatest title I've ever had over 41 years of business is the one I currently have, which is grandpa. I mean, it's not a better title than grandpa, right? I mean,
Exactly.
we have, Nico is my grandson and Penelope Rose, my granddaughter, and we just found out we have two more on the
Oh,
way.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So how great is
That's
that?
great.
So,
Yeah.
and here I am. I mean, people are thinking to themselves, you sat in a board meeting and you're sitting there and you're making these key decisions. And here I am. If they saw me now, I'm running around dancing to the hot dog song, the Mickey Mouse and Nico. So I mean, it's just don't don't get yourself too caught up on who you are because at the end of the day, it's all about being a good person. To your point,
Hmm.
but what I was saying is that if you think about it, right, leaders are. I mean, some of the greatest leaders in the world are teachers. I tell people all
Yes.
the time. If I asked you who your congressman or congresswoman was or state senator, you may not know that. But if I said to you, who's that teacher that made a difference in your
Mm.
life? Everybody stops, tilts their head, and says, "Oh, sixth grade, Mr. So and so or
Yeah.
Mrs. So and so." So in my mind, teachers are some of the greatest leaders. And so, as I wrote the book, I thought about all those individuals out there who sometimes don't give themselves the credit, but our leaders, our mentors, are people that make a difference in other people's lives, baseball coaches, little league coaches, all those kinds of influencers out there. And so the book really talks a lot about that leadership. And I wrote it in a third person because I never liked being that person and said, well, I would do this or I would do that.
I understand
So
that.
it was always easier for me to say, hey, what would Joe Scafone do? So Joe Scafone's the character in the book. And so I hope as people go through the book and as they read the book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, they see that there are places in there that even though they may not be in a pure business setting, they can take that step back and say, wow, I can see how that I can be an influencer, or I could use that in my approach. And that alone would be just a wonderful outcome of the book.
Yes, definitely. Even when I think about this overall, just the whole concept of being a balanced leader, I mean, you just think about that. And if you are incredibly powerful in your position, but then you don't have spend time with your family, or you don't eat healthily, or you don't exercise, well, then you're not really balanced. You're only once again, it goes back to the being top heavy in other places I said earlier. It's the same type of thing. So you really, once again, come from this holistic approach of how do you live your life in all areas where you can be that leader, even outside of whatever your job title may be. You're a leader in your home. You're a leader in your friend group. You're a leader at the grocery store. You're a leader at a restaurant. All those different types of things help people live a holistic, balanced life, which helps them be even more of a powerful leader and a world changer.
Oh, absolutely. And the leader doesn't always have to be the most vocal person. It could
Mm-hmm.
be that informal leader. It could be that person who quietly, does the right thing. Like my dad used to say, it's what you do when no one's watching that
Yeah.
counts. I mean, think about that individual, who does that thing when no one's watching. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we've just had, you had the tragedy in Las Vegas, you had the
Mm-hmm.
tragedy in Orlando last year, and yes, tragedies all around us. But
Yeah.
in those tragedies, you really see those acts of kindness that come
Yes.
forward, the human spirit is amazing, and it's in those difficult times that you really see the greatness of individuals. And while it's wonderful to see in tragedy, and you pray that those tragedies will never happen again, I also think on a daily basis we have those opportunities for those simple acts of kindness, and they may
Yes.
not be, in that larger setting like that, or in a very difficult situation that so broadly we can see. I think it's those simple acts of kindness. It's the hello. It's the thank you. It's
Mm-hmm.
seeing that person is having a difficult day, and you kind of extend that hand or that gesture of, hey, is there anything I can do to help, or how's things going, or just listen, or that simple ear. Those are the things that, to me, I think, as in business and in life, I mean, it's those simple acts of kindness that I think that are so important. And they instill confidence in people. They lend that helping hand. And I think if we can get back to doing more and more of those kinds of things, I just think it just makes the world a much better place.
Certainly it does. That act of compassion, or really it's more, I think, just validating. When you validate someone as a powerful human being, a beautiful human being, a wonderful person, regardless of what they're experiencing, just this a simple validation or affirmation of, hey, I recognize you, I recognize you're struggling. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things, just like you said, a gift that anybody can give another person, that recognition.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. And all of us, I mean, and that's the part that I find so disappointing, but also so powerful, right? The
Hmm.
disappointing part is that we all have those people in our lives that, gave us that simple, conversation, or put their arm around us at some point and helped us out, or gave us the lifesaver that helped us through that difficult moment. And so you would think that we all have those examples in our lives, and so you think people would be more, we would want to do those things for other people, and it doesn't
Sure.
always seem that way. And I feel like, look, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of energy. It doesn't take a lot of your time to be polite, respectful, and provide those simple acts of kindness. And I think that goes such a long way. So I agree with
Yes.
you. I mean, it's the human spirit on a daily basis, I think is the way I would put it.
Yes, and I think that's a great challenge for all of us to be a more authentic leader, to be a more compassionate person, to really validate the people and go outside of our own internal life and really validate the people around us, to just give them that opportunity to say, I recognize you and you are important to me.
I agree. No, I agree. I agree.
Rocky, it has been such a pleasure having you on my show again. You're always welcome back anytime you like to come back. So if my listeners would like to purchase your book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, where would they purchase this book?
So you can go to our website, www.the3 and the word 60, SIXTY, managementservices.com. There's a place there where you can learn more about us, but more importantly, you can purchase the book. Of course, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the books can be purchased. We are now on Pinterest, and I'm starting to get into the technology world.
I've actually seen you on Twitter.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
I posted some of the things about you.
Oh, my kids are going nuts. They're like, Dad, you got to get rid of an AOL account and get a Gmail account first of all, like that kind of. But no, I mean, we're on Pinterest now. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn, and we're on all the social media channels. So we're trying to be respectful and not be, because you can go too much, and you can,
I hear that.
You can do so much stuff on the social medias. But no, I appreciate you getting that message out there for us. And then, the other thing, James, I love to do is I get quite a few messages on our webpage and people asking questions. So if you have a question, or if they send you a question and say, hey, I'd love to ask Rocky this question, you can send me over the email. I'd love to look if I can help in any way. How great would that be?
Ah, it's phenomenal. Yes. Well, Rocky, thank you so much. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put your book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, in my store on jamesmillerlifeology.com. So if my listeners aren't able to find it any other place, just simply go to my website. Once again, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and you can buy Rocky's book there. Rocky Romanella, thank you so much for being a guest on my show again today. I really appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate that. And I would ask your listeners for one more thing. Hey, everybody, every person I meet and they're looking for a great podcast, I always tell them to listen to yours. When you're out there, folks, if someone asks you if there's a great podcast, you got to talk to them about James.
Thank you so much, Rocky. I really appreciate that.
All right. Stay well, my friend. Be safe. Talk to you soon.
I also want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with us today, or please go to my website where you may sign up for my free newsletter, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, or you may enroll in the Lifeology Academy where you can take self-directed courses which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you'd like to personally work with me, be a guest on, or advertise on this show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.